What if I told you that a recent federal court decision just opened the door for thousands of veterans to potentially receive VA disability compensation for something the VA has been denying for years? What if that something affects 70% of American veterans? And what if most veterans have no idea this opportunity even exists? Stick around because what you're about to learn could be worth thousands of dollars in benefits you didn't even know you could claim. Today, we're diving into some big news that could change how you approach your VA disability claims. We're talking about a major court case called Adams v. Collins that just came down on July 8th, 2025. And trust me, this is something every veteran needs to understand, especially if you're dealing with weight-related health issues that might be connected to your military service. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's break this down together. Let's start with the fundamentals, because understanding the VA's approach to obesity requires knowing how it thinks about disability in general. When the VA evaluates any disability claim, they're looking at three key things. First, is there a current disability or symptoms of a disability? Second, was there an injury, disease, or event during military service? And third, is there a medical connection or a nexus between what happened in service and the veteran's current disability? Now, when it comes to obesity specifically, the VA took the position that obesity itself is not a rateable disability, the first element of service connection. This meant that veterans couldn't get benefits for obesity, whether it was directly related to their service or as a secondary condition stemming from other service-connected issues. Now think about that for a second. If you're a veteran whose service led to conditions like PTSD, depression, or physical injuries, that then contributed to significant weight gain that's now affecting your ability to work, to function, to live your life, the VA was essentially saying, sorry, we don't recognize that as something we'll compensate you for. This approach is based on a 2017 General Counsel opinion. That opinion states that obesity is not a disease and therefore not the basis of a claim for disability compensation, period. End of story. In other words, VA basically considered obesity to just be an excess accumulation of body fat that does not usually result in impairment by itself. Instead, VA viewed obesity as an intermediate step, meaning they'll consider conditions that obesity might cause, but not obesity itself. Think of this as a link in the chain between two other conditions. For example, when PTSD causes overeating as a form of self-medication, which led to obesity, which then led to heart disease, the PTSD and heart disease could be compensated, but the obesity could not. Enter Adams v. Collins. That decision overruled in part VA's opinion, allowing for obesity itself to be service-connected. The court made some crucial distinctions that every veteran needs to understand. The court confirmed that obesity cannot be directly related to your military service. This is due to a technical legal requirement that veterans suffer from a disease to qualify for direct service connection. And VA's opinion, that is, that obesity is not a disease, was not legally erroneous. So you still can't argue that obesity itself was directly caused by your military service. But that's not the end of the analysis. And this is the key point. If obesity was secondary to or caused by a service-connected disability, that can be compensable disability for VA purposes. This is huge. That's a seismic expansion in what VA considers to be a disability. However, it comes with a catch. The court said obesity can be considered a disability, but only if it causes functional impairment of earning capacity. Now, let me pause here to define what functional impairment of earning capacity actually means. It's not lost wages. Rather, that means the extent to which a military-caused disability limits a veteran's ability to earn income in civilian workplace. It does not matter what kind of skills, training, or experience the veteran possesses. Basically, VA lumps together the entire civilian work experience. Also, it's important to note that impairment is not the same as preventing. So you can have a mild or major impairment, and VA would consider both to be sufficient to establish your obesity as a disability. But the degree or severity of the impairment would help VA determine the overall disability rating it assigns to your obesity. So, on the whole, the Adams case now allows veterans with obesity and who are functionally impaired in a way that limits their earning capacity in civilian employment to be compensated by VA for that disability. Let's talk about the real world scenarios where a military caused disability could cause obesity. For example, mental health conditions. Many veterans develop PTSD, depression, or anxiety from their service. These conditions can lead to emotional eating and food addiction, medication side effects that cause weight gain, loss of motivation for physical activity, or disrupted sleep patterns affecting metabolism. And for physical injuries, service connection injuries can result in severe limitation on physical activity and exercise, chronic pain leading to reduced mobility, or again, medications that cause weight gain as a side effect. The key point is this: obesity isn't always simply the result of consuming too many calories. It can be a natural consequence of other military-caused conditions and treatments. Now, here's what you need to understand about the current state of affairs. Court decisions and day-to-day VA practice don't always align immediately. As of today, the VA continues to operate under its established procedures. In fact, there's a good chance the VA will appeal this decision, which could delay any VA decisions based on Adams. And even if VA does not appeal, it still needs time to change its internal procedures to adapt to the Adams requirements. So what can you do today? Let me break it down into simple, practical next steps. If you're a veteran with a disability you think is directly related to your military service, such as a disease, an injury, an event, or a toxic exposure during qualifying military service, and you suffer from obesity, and your obesity causes an impairment in your earning capacity, and you believe or have been told by a medical professional that your obesity was caused by your in-service disease, injury, event, or exposure, consider filing a new or supplemental claim now for compensation for your obesity. Or if VA denied your claim, consider timely filing a request for higher level review or an appeal to the Board of Veterans' Appeals. This could preserve the earliest possible effective date for any benefits if VA grants that claim, even if that takes years. And remember, if VA denies your claim, you have the right to seek further review. Do not let your claim die from inaction. Remember, because this is a new area of law, the proper preparation of any claims or appeals based on Adams is not necessarily straightforward. VA's schedule for rating disabilities does not provide clear guidance on what ratings may be available for obesity claims. VA accredited representatives can help you navigate this. The Adams case creates a huge opportunity for many veterans to obtain the benefits they were promised, earned, and now deserve in part due to their obesity. It's reinforcing a fundamental basis for the disability compensation system. It's not about the medical condition itself. Rather, it's about how that condition or its symptoms affect your ability to earn a living. And that's what Congress had intended all along. Thanks for joining us with Vets with Benefits. You're not just a listener, you're part of our community. What was your biggest takeaway from this conversation? Have a question about it? Let me know in the comments. If you found the information helpful, like, subscribe, and share it with anyone you can think of that could benefit from it. And thanks. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. As a quick reminder, yes, I am a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer unless we already agreed to work together. While the things we talk about on this podcast may be legal in nature, it is not legal advice. If you need a lawyer, you should reach out to a qualified, licensed attorney in your area. This podcast and all of its content are owned by BSCC Media, LLC. Thanks for listening.